You're watching TAG TV. You're watching TAG TV.
Hello and welcome to Newsweek South Asia, a program that talks about breeding of terrorism and its impact on South Asian nations. Let's begin with the headlines first. India launches classic counter-terrorism action on Jaish-e-Mohammed. Pakistan faces complete isolation as global community unites against terrorism. Despite escalating tensions, Pakistan continues to violate ceasefire in Jammu and Kashmir. And record number of civilians suffered casualties in Afghanistan in the year 2018. This week, the escalating tension between India and Pakistan remained at the epicenter of concern for the entire world. The prevailing sense of animosity between the two neighbors gained momentum when the Pakistan-backed terror group Jaish-e-Mohammed launched the most deadly attack on Indian CRPF personnel on 14 February 2019. The attack followed subsequent airstrikes by Indian Air Force on Jaish-e-Mohammed terror camps based in Pakistan. Islamabad, instead of appreciating India's effort in countering terrorism, retaliated by sending its fighter jet into Indian airspace in order to target Indian military bases in Kashmir. In this edition of NWSA, we bring you a compiled report on India's fight against terrorism and Pakistan's unprecedented reaction on it.
The last week of February 2019 was full of action in South Asian region as the two most powerful countries of South Asia engaged in the semi-warlike situation. The only difference being that as one country was fighting against terrorism, the other one was fighting for terrorism. Following the dreadful event of 14 February 2019, Indian Air Force carried out a counter-terrorism exercise against Jaish-e-Mohammed by launching a series of airstrikes in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa with an aim to strike the terror camp deep inside Pakistan. In just over 24 hours after the strike, the nurturer and defender of terrorism, Pakistan reacted vigorously and sent its fighter jets in Jammu and Kashmir in a bid to take revenge of Indian airstrikes on Jaish-e-Mohammed camps. Jaish-e-Mohammed is the same terror group that carried out the suicide bomb attack on Indian CRPF personnel in Pulwama.
In an intelligence-led operation in the early hours of today, India struck the biggest training camp of the Jaish-e-Mohammed in Balakot. In this operation, a very large number of Jaish-e-Mohammed terrorists, trainers, senior commanders, and groups of jihadis who were being trained for Fidaiin action were eliminated.
The airstrike seemed to be an essential part of counter-terrorism action by India following the recent attacks. It was specifically carried out in Balakot, Muzaffarabad and Chakothy regions of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa territory of Pakistan. The story of terrorism in South Asia took a dramatic turn when Pakistan retaliated to an attack by India that was solely aimed at destroying the establishment of terrorists residing in Pakistan. Islamabad is in state of denial and confusion, as at one side it refused to accept that the airstrikes brought any harm to them, but simultaneously, on the other side, it not only warned India of retaliation against the airstrike, but also sent its F-16 fighter aircraft in Indian airspace with the aim of bombing Indian military establishments along the borders in Kashmir. As Indian Air Force detected a Pakistani fighter jet hovering over Indian airspace, the Air Force responded instantly.
India had informed about counter-terrorism action it took yesterday against a terrorist training camp of Jaish-e-Mohammed in Pakistan, based on credible evidence that Jaish-e-Mohammed intended to launch more attacks. Against this counter-terrorism action, Pakistan has responded this morning by using its Air Force to target military installations on the Indian side. Due to our high state of readiness and alertness, Pakistan's attempts were foiled successfully. The Pakistan Air Force was detected and the Indian Air Force responded instantly. In that aerial engagement, one Pakistan Air Force fighter aircraft was shot down by a MiG-21 Bison of the Indian Air Force. The Pakistani aircraft was seen by ground forces falling from the sky on the Pakistan side.
Even in such a grave situation, Pakistan government seemed to be mostly unaware of the real facts. Prime Minister Imran Khan although claimed that the Pakistan Air Force has shot down 2 Indian aircrafts, but nearly after a few hours its lies got exposed when it was revealed by the Indian administration that there was only one Indian aircraft in action which was flying to confront the F-16 fighter jet of Pakistan. Pakistan even denied accepting that it used F-16 aircraft to unleash attack in Kashmir, but its incorrect facts were blatantly exposed in a recent joint press conference by Indian Navy and Indian military and Indian Air Force.
There is enough evidence to show that F-16s were used in this mission through the electronic signatures, and thereafter the Pakistan is trying to hide this fact. Also, parts of AMRAAM air-to-air missile, which is carried only on the Pakistan F-16s, was recovered east of Rajouri within the Indian territory. Therefore, the fact remains that one F-16 of PAF was shot down by IF MiG-21 Bison.
As India and Pakistan's relationship becomes even more strained, people in both the countries are anxious and expect for peace to return between their nations. Both countries ordered airstrikes over the last 2 days, and it is the first time in history that 2 nuclear-armed powers have done so. The international community remained a keen observer of the nail-biting event in South Asia this week and is also playing an active role in admonishing Pakistan to take credible action against terrorism.
Moving on with our next report, now we'll see the international reactions and implications of the growing tensions between the 2 South Asian nations. While India is being welcomed by the international community for its historical action against terrorism, Pakistan is receiving condemnation from the entire world for allowing its territory to be used by terrorist groups to carry out all possible forms of terror activities.
The Pulwama attack of 14th February 2019 left the entire global community dumbstruck and angered. Since India has a clear policy of zero intolerance on terrorism, therefore it resorted to launching airstrikes on deep terror camps in Pakistan. Despite Islamabad's big promises of supporting action against terrorism, it launched a counter-airstrike in India to hit Kashmir's military camps. The risk of conflict between India and nuclear-armed Pakistan rose dramatically after the exchange of aerial strikes among the 2 nations. As India always tends with maintaining peace and accord in the South Asian region, therefore it has urged the international powers to come together in its fight against terrorism to free the region from the venomous disease.
Terrorism is a threat to humanity. इसलिए केवल इन 3 देशों की रणनीति से नहीं चलेगा, हमें वैश्विक रणनीति की जरूरत है, एक ग्लोबल कोऑपरेशन की जरूरत है। और मुझे खुशी हुई आपको बताते हुए कि आज हमने तय किया, जिसको हमने अपने पैरा 10 में लिखा भी है अपने जॉइंट कम्युनिके में, जो आपको बटेगी। हमने एक तरफ यूएन लेड ग्लोबल काउंटर टेररिज्म मैकेनिज्म को स्थापित करने की बात की और दूसरी तरफ भारत द्वारा प्रस्तावित CCIT कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव कन्वेंशन ऑन इंटरनेशनल टेररिज्म को अंतिम रूप देकर अपनाने की भी बात की।
In a recent India-Russia-China trilateral summit, the delegation of the 3 countries extensively discussed about the prevailing fierce tension between India and Pakistan. The Indian External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj assured the international powers that India is maintaining maximum restraint and is committed to prevent the situation from escalating further.
In the light of continuing refusal of Pakistan to acknowledge and act against terror groups on its territory, and based on credible information that Jaish-e-Mohammed was planning other attacks in its various parts of India, Government of India decided to take preemptive action. The largest and the target was selected in order to avoid civilian casualties. Excellencies, this was not a military operation. No military installations were targeted. The limited objective of the preemptive strike was to act decisively against the terrorist infrastructure of Jaish-e-Mohammed in order to preempt another terror attack in India. India does not wish to see further escalation of this situation. India will continue to act with responsibility and restraint.
The state-sponsored terrorism of Islamabad has brought it utter embarrassment. In the current situation, when Pakistan is already facing global isolation, it boycotted the crucial meeting of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, citing lame excuses like India's participation in it. Pakistan Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi said in a recently released statement that I will not attend Council of Foreign Ministers as a matter of principle for having extended invitation as a guest of honor to Sushma Swaraj. Pakistan, that lives in the world of denial, this time got blatantly exposed after the Pulwama terror attack. It has fallen under immense international pressure, and it is because of this pressure that the Foreign Minister of Pakistan, Shah Mahmood Qureshi, confessed recently that the Jaish leader Masood Azhar is residing in Pakistan. As Pakistan has been exposed from all the fronts, it is now feeling the heat from the rapidly evolving regional realities where even its allies have denied extending support to Islamabad.
Pakistan, which has been advocating peace in order to earn few brownie points from international community, is in reality hell-bent at escalating tensions with India. Multiple ceasefire violations compounded by mortar shelling by Pakistan Army is the real situation at Indo-Pak border. After the deadly attack of Pulwama, its army has been trying to push in more terrorists inside Indian territory. However, an assertive Indian force has been retaliating with full might and vigor and has killed at least 4 Jaish-e-Mohammed terrorists.
5 Indian Army soldiers were injured as Pakistani Army resorted to heavy mortar shelling on 55 forward areas of Jammu, Rajouri and Poonch districts of Jammu and Kashmir on 26 February 2019. Defying all international laws and conventions, the Pakistani Army used heavy weaponry including 120 mm mortar targeting civilian hamlets and forward posts. Despite Pakistan being condemned by the entire international community for the killing of 40 CRPF personnel of India, it is not restraining itself from violence and is constantly engaging into unprovoked firing along the Indian-Pakistan border area.
वहाँ पे ज़बरदस्त शेलिंग हो रही है, रात से ज़बरदस्त शेलिंग हो रही है दोनों तरफ से, एक तरफ से नहीं दोनों तरफ से हो रही है और काफ़ी दिक्कत में सामना कर रहे हैं लोग और बहुत मुश्किलात में।
सारे लोग बहुत खौफ में हैं और कोई भी जगह नहीं मतलब छुपने की, हम कहाँ जाएं, बाहर सर्दी है तो अंदर मतलब मकान में ज़्यादा डर लग रहा है कि क्या करें।
An emboldened Jaish-e-Mohammed has ramped up its nefarious design to further hamper the peace across India. However, in a setback, 2 of its operatives were arrested from India's Uttar Pradesh who have made shocking revelations of their connection with the Pulwama terror attack. The terrorist group, which has its base in Pakistan's Bahawalpur, is using Indian soil to execute its devious terror plans. The security forces of India this week neutralized at least 4 Jaish terrorists in different districts of Jammu and Kashmir.
Operation was carried out in Varpura Subur, in which 2 top terrorists of the Jaish-e-Mohammed were eliminated. The Jaish-e-Mohammed, as we all know, was involved in the terrible terrorist attack which happened recently. The operation was carried out with due care to avoid collateral damage, and a significant amount of time, more than 5 hours, was spent in evacuating more than 45 families. So there was no collateral damage and there was no injuries or losses to the security forces to this operation.
Pakistan has used terrorism as an instrument of state policy to subvert peace across its two borders of India and Afghanistan. It is providing state patronage to all the UN proscribed terrorist organizations and gives them both moral and material support.
Pakistan! Terrorist! Pakistan! Terrorist! Pakistan! Terrorist!
Pakistan, that houses the Jaish-e-Mohammed leader Masood Azhar, is receiving global condemnation for safeguarding various terrorist groups. Dozens of activists led by the American Indian Public Affairs Committee, among others, gathered outside the Pakistani consulate after the deadly attack to protest against the Pakistani government for backing the dastardly act of terrorism and its leaders. The dreaded combination of nuclear weapon and terrorism makes Pakistan the most dangerous territory to live in. A country that provides safe haven to jihadist groups like Jaish-e-Mohammed is not only dangerous to South Asia but to the entire humankind.
I'm agitating against Pakistani terrorist activity is because Pakistan has a nuclear capabilities. It's the only Muslim nation who has a nuclear capabilities. With terrorism and nuclearism cannot go together because it can be a total destruction of the mankind. So I would like certainly that all the terrorist activity in the Pakistan should be stopped and eradicated, and all the people who are hiding there and who are really spreading terrorism all around the area, even in Afghanistan, Iran area and Indian area, this all has to be eradicated and removed.
The Pulwama terror attack has heightened the tension between the two nations. As India is committed to fight its war against terrorism, Pakistan is busy in shelling the terrorists. New Delhi's escalated position in countering terrorism has also pushed the other nations to come together in fighting against terrorism. Thus, taking a step ahead in the same direction, the US, UK and France have officially approached the United Nations to designate Pakistan-based terror group Jaish-e-Mohammed chief Masood Azhar as a global terrorist.
Apart from India and Pakistan, Afghanistan has also come up with an unpleasant news where a latest report by the United Nations has revealed that a record number of Afghan civilians were killed in 2018 due to the long-time insurgency prevailing in Afghanistan. Suicide attacks and aerial operations each caused the most civilian casualties ever recorded by the UN assistance mission in Afghanistan. Also, ground engagements, mainly between pro-government forces and anti-government groups, remain the second leading cause of civilian casualties. We have a report.
A United Nations report released this week revealed that the year 2018 recorded the highest number of deaths of Afghan civilians due to stepped-up aerial attacks between US-led forces and suicide bombings by Taliban. The report specifically mentions that 3,804 civilians were killed in 2018. Among them, the highest ever recorded numbers of children were killed. Almost 1,000 boys and girls lost their lives due to armed conflict in the same year. The actual number is 927. In total, there were 10,993 civilian casualties, including both killed and injured in 2018. The United Nations expressed its deep concerns regarding growing insurgency in Afghanistan. The UN envoy Tatamichi Yamamoto called the increase in civilian casualties deeply disturbing and wholly unacceptable. It is pertinent to mention here that hundreds and thousands of Afghans have also been displaced by the conflict prevailing between the insurgents and the government. The displacement has happened both within and beyond the country's borders.
We are concerned about the significant increase in civilian casualties from aerial operations, mainly by international forces. There was a large increase of more than 60% in civilian casualties caused by this tactic in 2018.
The chief of UNAMA Human Rights, Richard Bennett, reiterated that there is an urgent need to take concrete steps in order to bring peace on Afghan land. It is high time to put an end to this human misery and tragedy and the best way to halt the killings and maiming of civilians is to stop the fighting.
All parties need to take immediate and additional concrete steps to stop a further escalation in the number of civilians harmed and lives, livelihoods, and communities destroyed. They must comply with international humanitarian law and international human rights law. The UN stands ready to intensify its work with all parties to assist them in taking the steps needed to halt the number of Afghan civilians killed and maimed from spiraling even further.
The report has come at the time when the US peace envoy Zalmay Khalilzad is intensifying efforts to find a peaceful solution to the 17-year war. The latest rounds of peace talks that were held this week signal that the two sides are looking to hammer out a timeline and logistic for a potential troop withdrawal, and as well as guarantees that the Taliban will not host militant groups as the US winds down its presence.
And with that, we come to the end of this edition of Newsweek South Asia. We'll be back next week with more news, views and analysis from the subcontinent. Meanwhile, do keep writing to us at nwsa@anin.com. This is Shreya Savajay signing off on the behalf of entire production team of Newsweek South Asia. Goodbye and take care.